My name is Miguel Mata, first generation American, retired military veteran, and now full-time college student. In my lifetime, I've come to meet people from all walks of life, from every corner of the country and most parts of the world, and what I can tell you is, everyone has a story. On my channel, I plan to share those stories with all of you and prove that despite the differences that make each of us who we are as individuals, fundamentally, we are all the same. And I believe that through the common thread of overcoming challenges, caring for our loved ones, and helping our communities, the rest of us will realize that our world is actually much brighter than some would make us think. And now, to shed more light. This Way Out. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to This Way Out. We've got my first Skype interview that I'm going to be doing here on the program. And today I'm sitting with, your name please?
Daniel Crayton.
Daniel Crayton. Oh, Daniel Crayton, an old friend from a previous base. And where are you located at right now, Daniel?
Los Angeles, California.
Ooh, L.A. Born in East L.A. That was one of my favorite movies. It has nothing to do with this conversation. I just remembered Paul Rodriguez.
Did you just have a flashback?
I did. Paul Rodriguez is one of my favorite comedians, all-time favorite comedians. And I just remember, Jesus está en Tijuana, you know? Okay, sorry. Back on track. Already off the rails. Daniel Crayton and I go back quite a few years to my time in North Dakota. I knew Daniel when he was fresh out of the box. He had the new car smell, fresh into the Air Force.
Yeah.
We fixed airplanes together, worked side by side, deployed together, etc. Definitely one of the good guys. And we parted ways. What year was that when we went our
2010.
2010, right. Grand Forks closed. Well, they shut down the refueling mission in North Dakota there at Grand Forks where we were at. And I went off to New Mexico, and you went, where did you go?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Already have offended people by saying Arkansas.
The internet is gonna blow up.
I know. But as you know, Daniel, and I do appreciate your support, man, in doing this, by the way. As you know, this program or this project that I started, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to share stories of people and showing, try to give examples if that's even the right word to use, of people who have overcome trials, right? Who have had to face adversity and overcome that adversity, and then find get beyond their issues. You know what I mean? And get beyond their issues, get beyond the problems that they experience. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I know that for you, you've had a turbulent. It's been your life, at least until recently, I would imagine. I don't think is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Has been turbulent. You know what I mean? You've had some stuff that you've had to deal with.
So, had 99 problems.
Oh, bitch ain't one. Better stop. Okay. But what I was hoping we could do is we could just kind of lay the foundation here. A little bit about your past, your upbringing, childhood, whatnot. Just kind of learn a little bit about you. So let's go ahead and start with, where are you from originally, Daniel?
I am from Ontario / Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Southern California. I've been to that area, Ontario. I'd fly out of that airport, I think. California, I would imagine, been through a lot of changes in, I don't know. Has it been through a lot of changes? Let me ask you that.
People
How
in California.
California changed from the time that when you were a kid up till now? What are some of your? Do you have any fond memories of when you were a kid growing up in California?
Yeah, homeless people used to be nice. Everybody used to be nice.
Okay.
Like, you could literally, people on the streets of California, like, they'd be walking and just say hello to everyone. Like, you said hello to everybody. And it was just, the weather was normal before all this global warming crap started. The weather was fine. Like, we had all the seasons, and it was just nice. It was a simpler time.
Uh-huh. In
Definitely.
Ontario. Let me
When
ask
I
you
was
this,
born, the
because
LA
when I
riots
was,
and stuff were going down.
oh yeah,
So that's been a change.
okay, no big riots out there in
Yeah.
LA
No
since
OJ
then.
case, no none of that anymore.
Oh, okay. Um, well, I remember one of the things I remember about when I was because I used to be stationed out there in Southern California in Edwards. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you never knew where one place started and another place ended. So out there in that area where you're talking about, I think I'm kind of familiar with that area. San Bernardino, um, Riverside, Moreno Valley,
Yep.
Ontario, all that stuff. You
Yep.
just never knew when one ended and another one started. You
It's
know,
true. They have
yeah.
signs somewhere, but they're never where you're at.
Was there ever a time whenever you were a kid where like there were sections of your neighborhood or where you grew up at that weren't like, developed or urbanized? I mean, was there ever a time were there ever any like, I don't know, like countrysides or I don't know.
No, my mom really did, like, she didn't, when she got pregnant with me and then had me, she didn't rely on my grandparents' money or anything. She did it on her own. And so we always lived in really nice places, honestly. I mean, back then, when you were just going through college, you could get into a corporate job and get a salary and stuff like that. And my mom did.
Mhm.
She was working 3 jobs in different corporate places while going to school. And we had a really nice two bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment in LA when I was born till I was 4. Then we moved to, wait, nope, not 4, sorry, until I was 6. Then we moved to Long Beach, and she had a really nice apartment, another 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and it was really nice in Long Beach. And then she bought her first house when I was 9, and we moved to Ontario.
Okay. So you mentioned, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but you mentioned a lot about your mom. What'd your dad do?
My dad did nothing. He gave my mom, like, really, he left when he found out. My mom told him that she was pregnant and stuff, and he basically told her to have fun having the baby when she was in the hospital, like, and then kind of dipped. Then from ages 2 to 4, my dad was back in my life. That was a horrible time. From 2 to 4, my dad was back in my life, and I would go over to his house sometimes on the weekends and stuff. And then after that, didn't contact him, didn't have any like mention of my father until I was 12 going on 13. He called the house. My mom was looking for him because something made her spur up the idea to find him. So she had been looking for him and didn't tell me or anything. So he called the house and I answered the phone and I was like, hello? And he was like, hi, can I speak to Vandalyn, my mom? And I was like, okay, 1 second. And I left the den that I was in where the phone was, went up to the living room, and my mom was sitting in there. And I was like, Mom, there's some man on the phone for you. She's like, did you ask who it is? And I was like, no. So then I went back and I was like, hi, who is this that's calling for my mom? And he was like, oh, it's James Norris. Just tell her that I'll call again later. And I was like, okay. He was like, who is this? I was like, oh, Daniel. He's like, okay, and hangs up the phone. Doesn't say, oh, hi, son, or anything that you would expect. So I go up to my mom, and I was like, James Norris called, and he said that he'll call back another time. And my mom was like, do you know who that was? I was like, no. I was like, didn't know when you first asked me. And she was like, that was your father. And I was just like, what? And then he tried to reconnect from age 13 to 15. I didn't really get along with him. I think it was kind of teen angst, but also just being uncomfortable around him because he tried to like be that father all of a sudden, like in the sense that I wouldn't see him all the time. I didn't live with him, but every time he saw me, he was scolding me about school and stuff and how I
Yeah.
shouldn't be getting B's and stuff like that. And just, yeah. So then there was a Christmas that came. I went to his house for a weekend he was really mean to my brother on his side. He has a boy and a girl that are incidentally born a year, like my sister was born, then my brother David, who is by my mom, he was born the following year. Then the youngest child was born to my dad. So they all waited 9 years after me. I don't know why. But he was having his son say the ABCs, and the boy kept skipping the letter F. He kept messing up. And he's 2 at this time. And my dad slapped him like straight across the face. And I was just like, what? And he was like, A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C, D, E, F. How are you not getting it? And I was just like, he's 2. And I remembered back when I was 4 and he had gone off on me in the same fashion over not knowing how to. It's the reason I don't lie, actually, because he went off on me for eating pie. I don't even like pie or cake, but he went off on me for eating a slice of pie that was up on the counter. Mind you, I'm 4. So I don't know how he expected that I got up there. But his girlfriend at the time, who became his wife, ate the pie and left. He came out, saw the pie was missing, blamed little old me, and kept calling me a liar, saying that I was. And the whole time I kept trying to like plead with him, like, please, I'm not lying. Like, and then he told me to tie my shoes. And at 4, I didn't know how to tie my shoes. My mom hadn't taught me yet. So I was like, I don't know how to tie my shoes. He was like, you're lying again. Why are you such a liar? So I was like, I will never again. Like, I will not have anybody doubt my integrity. Like, Air Force, core value. But yeah, I was like, I'll never
Right.
have anybody doubt my integrity or anything. And then remembered that moment. So that like kind of scarred me again. I was like, I don't want to be around him like that. And then Christmas, he said he was going to call me and come over with gifts. He didn't call. He didn't come over. And I called him and left a voicemail. Like I called him like all day. He didn't answer. And so finally I called him one last time and I left him a voicemail. And I was just like, F you. Like, I've waited around for you at different times in my life when you said you were coming and you never did. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. Why go through the pain? Like, I'm just done. And haven't heard from him ever since.
Well, I guess what I'm kind of curious about now is that, typically, well, I'm not a doctor. I don't know these things, honestly. But from what I do know, or from what I understand, people who have absent fathers or maybe have relationships like the one that you had with your father, they have, other issues come up as a result of that. Would you say that, I mean, you don't necessarily have to get into it, but would you say that your relationship with your father kind of spurred on some other issues like you had? Because I know you had, I don't know, I don't necessarily want to move on to like the meat and potatoes of you know your your um your adversity that you've had to face, but because we're going to get there. But do you think, or just throwing it out there, do you think that if your father was present, that those times in your life would have been easier? I mean, it sounds like a dumb question,
No, no,
or
no. I'm like, since we're going to go there, it's one of those interviews. I'll tell
right?
you this. From ages 2 to 4, I don't want the laughter to die, but from ages 2 to 4, I don't know exactly when he did it, but my father molested me
Okay,
during some of those weekends at his house.
right,
And I didn't even, when I was that age, I would go to my mom and I tell her, like, Mom, I had this weird dream, and describe to her what was going on. And my mom always was like, no, you need to tell me if it's real, if you're really being serious, because I'll kill him. Like, that's it. And I was like, no, I don't know. It was just a dream. It was just a dream. Like, always saying it was a dream. And then I got hypnotized in Arkansas and explained in vivid detail the memory. So that's when it was like, oh, that happened. And then I didn't even admit to my mom that it was true until I was 24. But that, I just think that with that being in play, no, it wouldn't have been better. And also, he was an angry man. My family has a lot of like anger. Like my mom has had anger problems. My dad has had anger problems. His dad, anger issues. Like my grandfather on my dad's side, not a nice man. None of them are
right.
really nice. And anger is something that I've struggled with and had to battle on my own as well. And it just, yeah, no, I feel like I'd be an even angrier person, probably have gone to jail or something at some point with my
Right.
father in place. Like, it's good that my mom did it, because I watched my mom do it on her own. And so, even though she was really hard on me and everything, only because she wanted the best for me, it made it so that I was able to deal with future struggles and not have to rely on any kind of dependency on anyone or anything like that. Like, I've been
Right.
able to do
Right.
it because of that.
Well, let me say first of all that one, I'm sorry that that happened to you. Two, I appreciate that you had the courage to share that. And also, I don't have to put that on the final episode, dude.
Oh no,
I
no,
could just,
I'm an open book, man. Like,
I appreciate you sharing that, and that takes a lot of courage. Let me ask you this: um, where'd that courage come from? Because people who experience that sort of stuff, they bottle it up forever, and it just tears them. It just destroys them. You know what I mean?
which is exactly why I am open about. I've always wanted it to be like, this might sound dumb, but I have wanted to become famous with my talents and whatever, because I wanted to be able to do like how you're doing. I wanted to give my message and show people, show that kid that's out there that doesn't believe that they're worth it, doesn't believe that they are attractive or anything like that. Show them like, hey, I went through all of school life getting bullied and treated like crap, and I turned it into a talent. I went through all of that and I succeeded now. So now you can see through all the struggles and everything, even the ones I've gone through as like recently as last year and everything. I want people to know that, and my voice actually matter. I don't want to just post a thread and 5 people see it. I want it to be that I post a thread
Right.
that delivers a message
Yeah.
and can save a life.
Right. Right. I'll tell you what. That's definitely. There are a lot of layers to this project, but that's definitely one of them. I don't know if you were following the previous thing that I was doing, that I'm walking here, but it was
Yeah.
one of the things I did where, like, Facebook. I'm done having political debates on Facebook.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It goes
I remember
nowhere.
that one.
It always ends up in the same place, which is nowhere. You know, like, and unfortunately, there aren't enough open minds to go around. So all it seems like, there are more people who get included in those debates who want to prove how right they are, rather than be open to at least considering a different opinion. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the world of Facebook. And here I am trying to use social media to get this stuff out, so it can't be all that bad. But I think I understand what you're saying. To me, my opinion is that video has definitely got a lot more power than the thread.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at you. I'm hearing you tell your story. Somebody else could probably do the same thing and say, that guy is. I see me in that person. So I'm hoping, and God bless you for sharing that. And I'm really sorry that you have to go through that stuff. But I hopefully, you know you've turned it into a strength, it sounds like. And maybe somebody else will be able to take away from your experience and turn it into a strength for themselves. So thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Of
um
course.
so let's let's go ahead and get into kind of a bigger, well, it's not much bigger, but you're just a person who's been through a lot. So let's kind of get into the next the next thing. um
The upper
okay,
echelon
so
of issues.
you and I were together. When did you arrive at North Dakota?
April 15th, 2009.
So 2000, really?
Yeah.
April?
April 15th on the day, 2009.
um so we're in North Dakota together. um I I didn't know anybody who didn't, like, I think everybody kind of took you, well, maybe not everybody, but everybody that I knew really appreciated your work ethic. Like, you had a genuine, like, you gave a shit. You wanted to be good. You obviously wanted to perform well at your job, and you always put your best foot forward. And I think everybody appreciated that, which is why when you did your little AMC icon thing, the talent show, like,
Oh
you had a
God.
big showing, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. Anyway, but you seem, you're like I said when I opened with, you were definitely one of the good guys, and I think you're a person that everybody enjoyed being around. Um, However, there you did kind of have some stuff that you were dealing with internally, and you revealed that in a Twitter message that you put out not too long ago, less than a year ago.
Hmm.
That kind of was like a wow moment for me. All right, folks, we had a little
Yes.
bit of a technical difficulty, so we had to change venues. Daniel had to relocate himself so we can get a better signal. But we're back, and just in time to get into some more of the heavy stuff. Um, so what I was saying was we'd known each other in Grand Forks. You were liked by a lot of people. It seemed like you were friends with a lot of people, but you were still dealing with something internally, and you revealed that in a Twitter message um, less than a year ago. So what I was hoping that you could do is share a little bit of that message, and I guess what motivated you to put it all out there.
Well, I was working in a cheese factory, not the Cheesecake Factory, but a cheese factory, a literal cheese factory. And basically, this coworker of mine, he worked there with his boyfriend. They were both working there. They worked the same shift. They slept together, ate together, did everything together. It was kind of ridiculous. But he was telling me how, yeah, when he came out and everything, it was a welcoming party. Like everybody was so happy and this big old celebration. And he's never had any issues. Like even in high school, it was so easy, whatever. And I was just telling him how it's very different from when I was going through school, because when I was in school, like you were a pariah if people found out, and don't even let it get back to your parents. And I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about my personal experience and what I dealt with so that I can put it out there, because who knows who needs to see it. So I just was talking about how, like, I knew from an early age that my thoughts concerning men were wrong, because I was like 6 or 7 and I was at YMCA summer camp while my mom was working and stuff. And I saw Titanic one night with my mom. She took me to theaters, saw Titanic. It was the greatest movie I'd ever seen in my 7 years of life. And I was just like, oh my God. So when I went to the summer camp the very next day, I was talking about Titanic and how it's this great movie and everything, and the acting's really great, like talking to children. But I was like, yeah, it's really an amazing movie, da da da. And I just love Leonardo DiCaprio, like he's a really good actor. And they were like, oh, you love Leonardo DiCaprio, did it? And started making fun of me about it. And I just got kind of weird feeling about it, because it wasn't like an attraction to Leonardo DiCaprio at the time. Like it wasn't. It just was, I thought he was a good actor. And so I brought it up and they made fun of me about it and stuff. And so I was crying and feeling all, oh, why you make fun of me? And so
Do you
one of
mind if
my
I pause you?
friends,
Do you
oh,
mind if
go
I
ahead.
pause you real quick? I think you're getting passionate and you're talking with your hands and your head's kind of bouncing all over the place. So I was just gonna ask you. I know you're in your story, but I'm having trouble tracking your face.
Okay, we'll stay right here.
Okay.
But my friend,
Sorry.
no, it's fine. My friend who was with me that day, he was like, don't feel bad, Daniel. It's okay, blasey blasey. And the day goes on. I think, okay, situation's done with. I haven't thought about it since the morning when we first started. I go to the bathroom and my mom shows up to pick me up. And while I'm in the bathroom, this boy, my friend supposedly, goes over to my mom and tells her, like, oh yeah, this happened today with Daniel. They made fun of him because he said he loved Leonardo DiCaprio and whatever. So my Christian, God-fearing 90s version of my mom was like, oh, okay. And when I got in the car, she started firing a bunch of questions at me. And as she was doing it, she was so angry. I just knew, I was like, okay, there's a way that this needs to go. Like, you can't say anything else, because obviously you're in trouble. Like my mom was pissed. She was like, so you want to be a girl? Do you like boys? Is that what it is? Do you like Leonardo DiCaprio? Since you said you love him so much, you must want to be a girl. Obviously you want to be a girl. Took me to Target, bought a big old pink dress, and was like, you want to be a girl, right? You want to be a girl? And I was like, fine, yeah, I want to be a girl. I want to be a girl then. That's fine. She's like, okay, cool. Then we're going to go home. So she takes me home and makes me put on the dress and locks me out of the house. She was like, go play with your friends. You got to be outside for an hour. So I'm literally running through our apartment complexes. When we lived in Long Beach, I'm running through my apartment complex crying, like, why? I don't want to wear a dress. And that day, I was like, okay, never again will I let something like this happen. At 7, like, I was just like, no, never again. And then fast forward to when I was 13 and started basically messing around with this 18-year-old named Anthony. And it was over summer. I always get in trouble over the summer for some reason, but it was over the summer. And he kept showing up at my house. And I was just like, okay, my mom is going to find out. And my mom hates surprises. Like, if I don't just go and tell her, like, I'm in trouble. And so I couldn't sleep that night because I was just like, riddled with guilt. Literally, I couldn't sleep and I was crying. And so I went into my mom's room at 13 and I told her, I was like, Mom, this is what's been happening with Anthony this summer. This is what's going on. And I was thinking, you know, I'm there crying and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, love and support, having forgotten what happened at 7. And my mom was pissed. And she was like, oh, you'll never see him again. Went over to the mom of Anthony and was going off on her, going off on him, said all this stuff about how I'm a child and I shouldn't be doing this and everything else. And then I was basically banned from that. And my mom was pissed. And it just was another reaction where I was like, okay, never again.
Do you mind if I ask you a quick question though? Like with that summer, I guess the summer fling, you know, you being 13, him being 18. Did it feel, you know, did it feel real? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to ask that question, but you
No, it
felt like you
didn't.
were in a relationship.
I didn't. It just felt like lust,
Mm.
heavy lust, really. And like, as far as the relationship went, it was really just like occasional kissing and grinding. That was it. There was no like anything else. And I literally was just like lusting after this person and he was
Okay.
lusting after me. That was really it. Like there was no relationship to it. Like we didn't go date or anything. So it didn't really feel like anything
Okay.
to me. Then the next instance was in the Air Force. Like I went to the Air Force and that's what I had put in the thread was that, you know, when I went into the military, I remember the day at MEPS that they brought us all into a room and they were like, if any of you are homosexual in nature of any kind, you are free to leave the room now. Because if you don't, you sign this paper and you get caught in any kind of homosexual activity, you will be dishonorably discharged and you cannot get a job at McDonald's. And I was scared because I was just like, I don't know. I want to do this. Like, so I guess I've just got to not be that part of me and do what I need to do. So then I signed and I was scared the whole time. But it was really like when the going out and stuff and then meeting the person and stuff that like that scenario happened and I was terrified. Basically, the blowjob is when I don't know if you remember because the very next day I saw like you and Sergeant Williams and Sergeant Horn, all them at Sergeant Short's house. And I was like, I got a blowjob. And everybody's like, yeah. And all the wives were like, no, Daniel, you can't. You're a baby. I was like, nope, it happened. I was so happy. But the way that played out, the reason that Chris became Kristen was because I come into my dorms from like fresh from blowjob. Like I was like, oh my God, like amazing. I've discovered something new. I was so happy and I couldn't stop smiling. My face never lies. I was cheesing. And it's like 3 something in the morning. And Janini walks in. Yeah, Janini walks in and he was like, what the fuck are you so happy about? And I was like, oh, well, I got a blowjob. And he was like, yes, oh my God, like going crazy and everything. And he was like, all right, what was it like? What's her name? And it clicked. I was like, oh yeah, probably can't say. I was like, Kristen. And I said she was some sorority girl from down at the thing, because everybody knew I went to sorority houses for parties and stuff. So I said she was some sorority girl and basically just making a way for no one to ever try and meet her. So yeah.
Mm.
And I was just like, you know, it was an experience. And I was like, well, I'm still getting to share it with my friends and stuff, but just not fully. And that was because DADT was still in effect. So couldn't tell. Yeah, that was just, it was those kind of struggles. And then even getting out of the military, I struggled with myself still because I was living back home with my mom and I would work at McDonald's and everybody asked me, oh, so what are you like? I'd be like, I'm straight, leave me alone. And that's what I'd always tell people because I just didn't want the possibility of any kind of sexual deviance getting back to my mother. Like my
Right.
mom was up in McDonald's all the time when I worked there. There was a time actually that this guy who it did feel real with, he completely played me and I was crying and I was just really stressed out because I was working at McDonald's all the time, tried to date this person. They freaking kept on inviting me and setting dates and stuff and then flaking. And this time I had gotten ready again and they flaked, weren't answering their phone and stuff. And I was just like devastated. I was like, why am I putting myself through this? Like, that's not me. Like, I'm Daniel Crayton. Like, no, this doesn't, I don't feel like this. I shouldn't feel bad. Like, I've been perfectly fine single. Why am I going through this? And I was crying, and my mom heard me downstairs, came down. So I literally told her that I was stressed out because of school, just so I could have a shoulder to cry on with understanding rather than go through that. And it's just, those are the kind of things that I've wanted to like share with people so that someone out there might hear it and know that they aren't going through it alone. Because not everybody in the community is comfortable yet, even though it's become more accepting and people have become more accepting of it. Like it's still like for some people, it's still like scary for them.
Yeah. Hey, it's Pride Month too, isn't it? So it's
Yeah, I
good to
saw
be
a post
talking
on
about this.
Facebook that said it's yeah, it really is. Yeah, how funny. But like good timing, good timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I saw a post on Facebook recently and it was like happy Pride Month to everybody in the LGBTQ community, even those that are too afraid to come out still. We see you. And I was just like, that's crazy because it's true.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you mentioned that you had an incident when you were 7, and then at 13 you had a full blown like relationship, like a sexual encounter, um, a romantic
Hmm.
relationship, if you will. Um, but at 7, you said that it was a just like normal conversation that you were accused of being, having, what would they call it? Impure thoughts, right?
Hmm.
So you were at 7 accused of having impure thoughts, but you weren't. But at 13, you were in a relationship with a guy. So I guess my question is, at what point did you go from? At what point did you realize that you were a homosexual, interested in people of the same sex?
Oh, it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you knew that you were attracted to guys. Okay. Well, so there was it was already, you already knew that about yourself, and you were already having to kind of shield that or hide that part of you already at 5 years old. So, damn. Um, when did you like your? I'm assuming your mom knows now. Is she comfortable with it?
Yeah. That's why I said earlier 90s Van, because my mom in the 90s was a whole nother person. Like if she were still the same today, we probably wouldn't speak.
Right.
But now, no, my mom is cool. Like she prays for me every day and prays that I'll come to the right ways. But she's also not like, she doesn't push me about it or anything, and she's just like cool about it with me and we can talk. Like we've talked about my mom, I'm a very honest person, so my mom, like if she asks me stuff, then I just tell her. Like I'm like, okay. So like we've talked about the things I did in the Air Force. We talked about everything in my life. Like she knows.
But in 2010, at least, you were still at a place where you didn't feel comfortable. Well, I mean, you were in the military at the time, of course, too, so you didn't feel comfortable being open. When did that happen? Did it happen recently when you were comfortable to be
Oh,
open about your?
age 24. Once I moved out of my mom's house and into my own house, that is when like literally we actually got in an argument and I just kind of came out and said it. And
Mhm,
that was my big reveal story. Like I literally we
mhm.
were arguing with each other and yelling and stuff, and I just told her. And she was like, what? And I was like, well, whatever, I'm out of here anyway. And I just left. And then, yeah. And she even, like, we had a talk later on, and she was like, yeah, I've known and whatever. Like, it's fine. Like, just everybody has their decisions to make. And I was like, that's true.
But you're in a good place now. Gosh, Daniel, you've also had issues with like finding work.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you've been struggling with money and finding work. That's been giving you trouble.
Yeah.
Um,
Hopping from
as far
couches
as
to
that
couches.
goes, yeah. How like what was you know we're gonna get to the good stuff, I promise. We're gonna get to the good part of your life, I promise, which is what's happening right now. But like, what would you say? I mean, what was that like? I mean, what
It's
you know?
been difficult, and I was depressed a lot for a while. And it was just, it was constantly a struggle, like not knowing where I was living, not knowing how I would eat, not knowing how I would afford anything or be able to pay bills or any kind of financial stability at all. Like going to jobs, working for 6 months or whatever, getting invested only for them to let me go. Like it was just constantly trying to get jobs. But I am so glad that all of it happened. It sucked when I was in it, but I'm so glad it happened because me going through the struggles, like I really do believe everything happens for a reason. And me going through those struggles and not being able to find a job, I had wanted to be in aircraft maintenance again for 7 years. I wanted to be back in aircraft maintenance. And I hadn't been able to find any jobs when I first got out. So I was like, whatever. And I just didn't really look or anything. Me getting fired from the door warehouse I was working at got me to sign up with the employment development department in California in LA. And I had never signed up with them in LA. I have the veterans EDD thing in San Bernardino and Rancho Cucamonga, but never in LA. Well, in LA, when I put in my resume with everything that I've ever done. And so a woman called me like 2 months into my struggle, right actually after the Ellen DeGeneres comedy special on Netflix came out, which was impeccable, by the way. But it was right after that. Like I really related to her story in that special. And then I got a call the next day, and it was the day before my phone got cut off. I got a call, and it was from the EDD, and they were like, "Yeah, do you have a number we can contact you on and stuff? We were wondering, like, we see that you've worked on aircraft before. Like, have you tried to go into that field?" And I was like, "Yes, I can never find anything." Like, they were like, "Oh, well, Qantas is actually hiring right now if you were interested." And I was like, "Shut up. Yeah, I'll put in my application." So I put in my application, and then 2 months went by, and I was just like, I guess I didn't get it. And they called me and were like, they emailed me and were like, "Yeah, we have an interview. You got to come down and test and like show that you know aircraft and stuff." And then I did, and then a month went by after that, and people that I interviewed with, I gotten their information, and they told me like, "Oh yeah, we got hired, we started," and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm not." And one guy who I befriended in the interviews, his name's Robert, and he was like, "Yeah, I saw your name on the list. You got the job. Don't trip." And I was like, "Okay." And then 2 weeks went by, and they hit me up and were like, "Can you start in 2 weeks?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I guess." Like, so I did.
You're working for Qantas now,
Yep.
and that's you've been holding steady with that work. How long?
Since March.
Okay,
Yep, it's a new
so
job
not
for
too
me.
long, but
No.
it's looking good.
Yes. I'm doing great there
Excellent.
so far from what they tell me. I don't know what they see, but supposedly I'm doing really great.
Well, congratulations, brother.
Thanks.
Way to stick it out. Kept plugging away. Good
It
for
was a
you,
long
man.
road.
Good for you. Okay, so now the exciting part. That for me, it's exciting because I'm gonna. This is the part where I'm gonna start living vicariously through you. Please share with please share with us what is it that you just started doing. Your first time trying it, and you've been asked to do it again.
Yes, I did stand-up comedy for the first time on
Oh
March
snap!
on May 31st. Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I did my stand-up comedy, and I signed up for 10 minutes, and it was the longest 10 minutes of my life. And I'm glad that I did it because I was terrified at first. I was extremely terrified. And once I got up there, it's like, I'm glad because now I know what I need to work on. I know what's funny and stuff. And I know how I need to deliver jokes and things like that. So I'm really glad. And I did so well that, yes, I got invited to go back this Saturday for some set that they have of like up and comers. So
How about you give us a plug? Where are you going to be at? What time? All that stuff.
I am going to be at Haha Comedy Club in North Hollywood, and it's going to be at 7 p.m.
This Saturday?
this Saturday. Yep, the 8th.
7 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
So we'll be looking
time.
forward.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that video. Do you have Instagram, Daniel? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Are you on IGTV at all?
No, what is that?
IGTV is Instagram TV. You can post. You know how on Instagram you can post. You're only able to post like 60-second clips.
Mm-hmm.
On IGT you can post a full video.
Oh.
So if you do IGTV, huh?
Because I tried to put the video on Instagram and it did the 60-second clips like you were saying.
Yeah, download IGTV and you can upload your video. Like I don't know if you saw the videos that I posted. They're kind of like 2.5 minutes, a minute and a half, 2.5 minutes long. Some of them I posted on IGTV, and then that goes to my Instagram account, and then it gets shared to my Facebook. So
nice.
So IGTV. So what's your Instagram handle so people will know?
It is Lawrence Photos, all one word. LAWRENCEPHOTOS.
Lawrence Photos. I'll put that in. I'll put a link for that so that way people maybe might follow you. Okay. And then yeah. Dude, I watched your video. I thought it was hilarious. You know,
it's
and
on
I'm not
YouTube
just saying
now.
that. Yeah, hello. So yeah. Send me the link and I'll put that in the comments too.
For sure. Thanks.
Yeah. And I think you did really well for it being your first time, and I know it's just going to get better. Dude, I know I hate to do this to you, but you got to tell the Hofax joke.
I just wish that there was an app that you could see everybody's past discrepancies in their relationship. Like how you have a Carfax, but for people, like a Hofax, where you could, see how many relationships they've been in, how many past owners they've had, how many accidents or run-ins they've been through in the past year. You could see STDs they might be carrying around with them. Anything that would verify it. It doesn't have to be a credit score, credit check. Just needs to be a quick like synopsis. Have inputs from other people from your relationships that say, he was abusive. He doesn't pay his bills on time. Just little tidbits that way when I swipe right, I know that I'm swiping right.
Yeah. Show me the Hofax.
Show me the Hofax.
That's awesome, dude. I'll tell you what, man, that's pretty smart stuff. Daniel, I'm rooting for you, man. I'm rooting for you, and I'm happy for you, and I'm happy that you've overcome so much. You've had, you've struggled with. It's not. I was going to say you struggled with your sexuality, but it's not a struggle with your sexuality. It's a struggle with being comfortable in your own skin. Mm-hmm. In a world that's not, well, especially when you were younger and growing up, wasn't necessarily as accepting. Nowadays people are well, nowadays society, if you will, seems to be progressing, but it's slow. It's a process. So I want to say that I'm happy for you that you've gotten to a point where you can at least be comfortable in your own skin. So I'm seriously happy for you.
Thank you.
And then you've had to deal with difficulty finding work, especially in California with the cost of living the way it is. God bless. Yeah.
Somehow I made it through all of that. Yeah.
Right. And of course, tumultuous, a little bit of a tumultuous past, and a little bit. I say a little bit. That's putting it mildly. But after all of that, you seem to have come through all of that and seem to be in a very good place now. So, I congratulate you for that, and I'm happy
Thank
for you,
you.
buddy. And so usually what I do here at this point, right here at the end, is I give whoever my interviewee is the opportunity, since you have space and opportunity right now, you've got an audience, give you an opportunity that there's any piece of advice, anything that you've always wanted to tell somebody, anything at all. What would that thing be?
I would say learn to love yourself early on, because you're here on this earth to not only love yourself and enjoy life, but to use the things, the struggles, the faults and stuff that you've gone through to help others. Like, everything in your life happens for a reason, and it builds this amazing person that you're meant to be so that you can touch other people's lives.
Pretty powerful stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Well said, buddy. All right, Daniel. Well, I appreciate you being on. I appreciate your support for my project, This Way Out
This way
project.
out.
Yeah, This Way Out of the Darkness. Let's work our way to a better world, huh? What do you say?
Yes.
What do you say, huh? Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for helping, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
So,
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're very welcome. And maybe it won't be 10 years before we touch base again, huh?
Yes, please.
I'll take just as much responsibility for that as anyone, but as we know, life is crazy.
What state are you in now?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay.
Not North Carolina.
Because I need to travel.
Where they take their shirts off. No, I'm in South Carolina. Thanks again for tuning in to This Way Out. I'm Miguel. This is Daniel Crayton. If you like this episode and episodes like them, you want to see more, please subscribe, like, share, hit the little notification. I'm really getting good at this. Hit the notification bell. I'll put the link to Daniel's Instagram handle and his YouTube video for his stand-up comedy in the comments. And really I want to say thanks for tuning in, and once again, thanks Daniel for doing this.
Of course, no problem. Thank you for
having me. Take care, buddy.
You too.
Love you, man.
Love you too.